Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on KPAX, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, I'm Jill Valley.
And I'm Dennis Bragg. A nice outlook for the weekend weather-wise, but rain or snow are in the forecast going into next week.
For more, let's take it over to Chief Meteorologist Aaron Yost with the first forecast. Aaron.
Yeah, we are going to see a pretty decent weekend, especially Saturday evening. Things looking pretty nice, a decent amount of sunshine to be expected, but enjoy it. Changes move in Monday from the northwest with our next cold front. We're still getting rid of a system right now, though, that we have to talk about. This was downtown Hamilton, First Security Bank ICAM a short while ago. We do continue to see some of that scattered mountain snow and mainly valley rain, and we will hold on to this for west central and southwest Montana as we head into the overnight hours and early on Saturday before that decent pattern change arrives briefly. I've got the extended forecast on the way.
In Mineral County, a committee is trying to figure out how to reopen the jail. They've identified two key issues, and both the sheriff and the commissioners are working to come up with solutions after they had to relocate their inmates in October because of staffing shortages. Last Friday at the weekly commissioners meeting, a jail committee was established. Now, according to County Commissioner Roman Zalawi, it includes the sheriff, the undersheriff, 3 members of the public, and 2 detention officers who recently quit. They're working to figure out why people don't want to work at the jail. Zalawi says 2 issues have been identified: low salary for one, and reportedly questionable policies that have been implemented by jail management.
The problems they identified are ones that, between the sheriff and the commissioners can have a quick resolution, because we want to get some jailers back to work. Hopefully, a limited pool of workers in Mineral County, there are still some people who will apply for the job.
In the meantime, Mineral County arrests are being sent to the Sanders County Jail in Thompson Falls. That's 75 miles away. It costs them almost $70 per day per inmate. On Monday night, the committee will present their findings and recommendations to the commissioners at a special meeting in an effort to get the jail open again. The public is invited. It's at 5:30 at the County Commissioners Meeting Room in Superior. A special session of the Montana legislature gets underway Tuesday to talk about the state's multi-million-dollar budget hole. Governor Steve Bullock is proposing a 3-pronged approach: about $77 million in budget cuts, but he can order that, $75 million in temporary tax increases, and nearly $77 million in budget transfers and adjustments. He's proposing 3 tax increases: raising the state lodging tax and rental car tax to 10%, and a $30 million fee on the state work comp fund's investment portfolio. Some transfers include things like taking nearly $11 million from the state employees' health plan and eliminating an $11 million payment to public schools this year. Legislative Republicans have some additional ideas. They want to consider accepting about $30 million from the owner of that private prison in Shelby in exchange for a contract extension, and perhaps require 2 nonprofit health insurers to pay a state premium tax.
And Republican lawmakers said today they have enough signatures to expand the agenda of next week's special session beyond what the governor has proposed.
But it doesn't necessarily mean the two sides are that far apart on solving the state's budget crisis. MTN's chief political reporter Mike Dennison previews that special session.
Governor Bullock has called lawmakers into special session because he doesn't want to fill the state's $227 million budget hole only with spending cuts. Democratic lawmakers and most Republicans who control majorities at the legislature mostly agree on that point.
When you look at that list of what those cuts would look like, they are devastating and they are grim, and they would have significant impacts on working families across the state. And frankly, it's just unacceptable to cut to that degree.
So the governor says he'll cut about 1/3 of that amount and wants the legislature to approve some budget transfers and temporary tax increases to cover the remaining shortfall. Dan Villa, the governor's budget director, says he thinks lawmakers are on board with most of the cuts and transfers, but it's that final leg, the taxes, that aren't settled.
Really, we're having a disagreement over $75 million in temporary revenue. To me, when you're 2/3 of the way down the path, you don't try to make it look as though you're further apart than you are. You work and you try to find that last third.
Republican House Speaker Austin Knudsen says tax increases are the main sticking point, and that he'd prefer none is approved.
I don't think we should be raising any taxes. I think there are probably some in my caucus that feel a little differently about that, but right now, frankly, I don't think there are the votes to pass tax increases of any kind.
A key element of this dispute is an offer from the owner of the private prison at Shelby. Core Civic says it will give the state about $30 million from an account of state money that the company controls, if the state agrees to extend Core Civic's contract to run the prison for up to 10 years. Republican lawmakers say they see no reason not to accept the deal and use that money to lower or erase the need for any tax increases.
I can't see any reason on earth why a Republican would vote to raise $75 million in taxes when we're leaving $30 million on the table with CoreCivic and the private prison.
Bullock and fellow Democrats very much oppose this move, saying the contract with CoreCivic deserves more scrutiny and thought.
They want to give us our money back. This is the state's money, $30 million, in exchange for a $150 million long-term commitment to them. This is an important contract for the state. It's one that we need to take the time to look at carefully and not try to ram through in a 2 or 3 day special session without full transparency by the public.
Could a private prison contract really be the make or break item in a special session to balance the budget? It's possible, but if lawmakers want to avoid major spending cuts to many programs, they'll have to find a solution that the majority and the governor can agree on. At the Capitol, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
That special session convenes on Tuesday, but committee hearings start Monday at the Capitol.
Salute the Badge is brought to you by Montana Railing, supporting the Main Street of Montana for 30 years.
When you say our firefighters and police officers work, you often don't realize many of them are veterans or continuing an active military career in the reserves or National Guard. And for one Missoula firefighter, it's a combination that's taken him from the mountains of Montana to the mountains of Afghanistan on his missions of public service.
Call for fire or medical help in Missoula, and chances are you'll see Kurt Shields behind the wheel. But it was the military life that called him away right after he graduated high school, beginning a 5-year stint in the Navy. Kurt served on search and rescue missions, including time as a rescue diver, one of the most demanding jobs in the armed forces. But when he came back home to Missoula, he jokes there weren't many Navy opportunities in Montana. So he signed up with the Army Reserves, where he's been on a variety of missions over the past 15 years, including time in Iraq, Afghanistan, and other campaigns in the Middle East, working on everything from helicopter operations to engineering.
It was great to get to travel. You didn't know where you were going, but you're going somewhere, and I got to see and do a lot of stuff I wouldn't have done. And coming from Montana, it's a big world. It's cool to get a chance to go out and see that kind of stuff while you're working.
But 5 years ago, Kurt decided to add something else to his resume, getting a position with Missoula Fire.
Fire department's a great job, great experience for me, and I think probably being in the military first made me a good candidate to get hired here.
In fact, Kurt was grateful Missoula Fire held a position for him while he finished deployment and has helped him continue to serve overseas. And while there are similarities, there are differences too.
Yeah, there's a lot of differences, and I think the biggest difference is being real junior here and being senior in the military. That's kind of different change of pace.
And Kurt says any young men and women considering their future could be well served to look at the fire department or the military, or both.
I like that you get to do something different every day and you're not stuck in a rut, and you have a chance to have a real exciting day. They don't all turn out like that, but it's nice to have a chance.
And Kurt isn't the only member of Missoula Fire with military experience. At least a dozen others also have been enlisted in various branches of the armed forces over the years. In other news, speaking of the fire service, friends are hoping a good old-fashioned chili cook-off will help raise funds to help Victor's assistant fire chief overcome a serious medical challenge that sidelined a man who gives everything to the community. Mason Kay has been fighting a bone infection in his jaw that's puzzling doctors and has now prompted his transfer to Salt Lake for further testing and procedures. Not only does Mason serve as assistant chief of the Victor Fire Department, but he's also a paramedic for Marcus Daily Ambulance and serves as an assistant football coach at Victor High School. His family is also involved in the fire service. Cooks have been challenged to serve up the best chili tonight at a fundraiser for Kay. It starts at 7 p.m. at the Victor Fire Hall. They've also set up a GoFundMe page, which has raised more than $3,000 toward a $10,000 goal.
Several events marking Veterans Day are planned across western Montana tomorrow. The Missoula ceremony is being held at a new location this year because of construction at the Missoula County Courthouse. The American Legion Post 101 will hold its annual Veterans Day ceremony at Fort Missoula Regional Park on South Avenue. The ceremony starts at 10:15 tomorrow. In the Bitterroot, the Corvallis American Legion Post 91 will lead a parade down Main Street at 11 o'clock in the morning. It's the first year for the Veterans Blizzard Ride from 9:30 to 2. The ride starts at Napa Auto Parts in Hamilton. It will raise money for riders programs and Canine Care Montana. That's a service dog training center in Phillipsburg. For a complete list of Veterans Day events, go to our website, KPAX.com.
And the National Park Service will allow for free admission to all of its facilities tomorrow for the weekend in honor of those who have served or are serving in the U.S. military. It includes the Little Bighorn Battlefield, where the winter hours of operation are 8 to 4:30. Self-guiding Deep Ravine Trail and tour to the Reno-Benteen Battlefield are open daily from 8 to 4. And you'll also see those other different changes there, and of course other places like the Big Hole Battlefield and the parks and everything else, all free there.
Well, a 6-year-old girl from the Bitterroot Valley is about to embark on a wonderful journey to Disney World, all thanks to the Montana Hope Project. And Michelle Rebke and her family certainly deserve to have some fun. Just a few months ago, little Michelle finished up 2.5 years of chemotherapy in her battle with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. She's the one in the picture under the word Bitterroot, holding the bear there. Yesterday at Stevensville Elementary School, Michelle was surprised by Montana Highway Patrol Trooper Jeremiah Schneider, who granted her wish to go to Disney World with her family. Michelle's parents are Stephanie and Kevin, and along with sister Emily are going to spend some time together at the happiest place on earth. And they say they're grateful to the people of the Montana Hope Project for opening their hearts to support children like Michelle. You can learn more about that program at montanahope.org. How exciting.
That's an amazing program, it really is. Coming up later in the show, Erin will be back with your weekend forecast.
And the Libby community is still trying to cope with the devastating loss of one of its major economic drivers, how the town plans to move forward after that mill fire.